Hi, I'm Jasmine Davila, and my favorite thing is looking after other people's pets.
Welcome to the Finding Favorites podcast, where we explore your favorite things without using an algorithm. Here's your host, Leah Jones.
Hi there, this is your host, Leah Jones, coming to you very late on Sunday night. I'm going to say Adobe Audition crashed at least 4 times when I was trying to edit this interview for today, after I spent about 4 hours on the phone with various synagogue-related duties. So the weekend was what it was. I've been staring out my window, watching snowmen and snow women and caterpillars be built in the park across the street from my house all day. We had over 24 hours of snow. Slow and steady wins the race. We probably got 8 to 12 inches of snow in Chicago today. It's been a while since we had a good snow. This week I have my friend Jasmine back on the podcast. Jasmine was my very first interview at the beginning of the podcast when I didn't know how to use a microphone, didn't know how to do an interview, didn't know how to roll with the punches. So I think it's really nice to have her back and that she was willing to give me another go at having an interview. So this time we talk about her second favorite thing after Tom Hiddleston, which is other people's pets. I hope that you've all been having a good week. More and more people that I know and people that are total strangers are getting their vaccines. Some people in the US are even getting their second shots already. It's such a relief. My parents got their first shots of the vaccine this week. It's such a relief. But we also lost another family member this week. Not COVID this time, but my cousin Libby Jones, who grew up with my dad, passed away. I only really met her a couple years ago when I was deep in my facilitation business, and she wanted to try out a third act as a public speaker, and so I went to Delaware and helped her run a workshop called Unlocking the Warrior Within, which was, I was testing the idea of could I create a workshop that different people could slot in their keynote speech, and then I would facilitate the rest. And it was an interesting experiment. It was good to meet her. May her memory be a blessing. So I hope that this week you can stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, and wear your mask. Hello and welcome to Finding Favorites. I'm your host, Leah Jones, and this is the podcast where we find out about people's favorite things without using an algorithm. Although today I think probably an algorithm is part of the story. I'm really excited to have my friend Jasmine Davila back. How are you doing, Jasmine?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. So Jasmine was my very first interview. I used a microphone, but did not plug it, and had it plugged into my computer, but didn't have Zoom set to record from the microphone. I didn't know how to flow with an interview. So even though it was obvious we should have been talking about Tom Hiddleston, I kept trying to force you back, like I was training a horse or something, or like
you're trying to wrangle a 4-year-old talking about stickers or something. It was ridiculous.
For some reason, instead of saying oh yeah, the real topic here is Tom, I was like, it's Lori Cohen. So in that, I'm now 41 episodes deep into this quarantine project.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yay.
I know more about microphones. I might know more about interviewing. Cool. And so Jasmine and we're sitting in Chicago, a blizzard is about to hit us, and we're back on Zoom.
Yay.
Before I hit record, you ordered from Flacco's Tacos today?
I did, because I was so inspired by you ordering from Flacco's Tacos and the fact that I didn't know that they were up here. And it seemed like, according to their website, they only just opened the Edgewater location. Like
Yeah.
it's fairly new.
I would say it's like a year maybe, but it is a
Okay.
glorious year of tacos, and their chips are so good.
All right. I'm so glad, because, like, I've ordered from other neighborhood places that, according to the Andersonville neighborhood group on Facebook, are their favorites. And I never really quite love them the way that other people seem to.
Yeah.
And I've had Flacco's Tacos before from their South Loop location many times when I used to dog sit for a mutual friend of ours who no longer lives in Chicago. And that was like a regular spot of mine whenever I looked after her dog. And I do have to say that, like, I would, before I'd go and, like, look after the spaniel, I would think to myself, like, the first night, like, of the engagement, if it was like a weekend, I'd be like, all right, we're going to order Flacco's Tacos.
Yeah.
The question is, like, what are we going to get? Are we going to deliver it 2 blocks, or am I just going to, like, pick it up when I take you out on your evening walk?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to pick it up after you've pooped or before? Are we going to the dog park before or after?
Yeah.
All of that stuff. Like, the Flacco's, like, the Flacco was definitely, like, part of the excitement of hanging out with that particular dog at that time. So,
yeah, I love Flacco's Tacos, and so last night I did like a steak and lime burrito, chips and salsa, because I mean, their chips are so good.
They're really good.
That I will often order a backup box of chips, because their chips come in these big boxes. And they're good for days. They're, like, so good. And I got a couple frozen margaritas. And we didn't record last night because I had one frozen margarita, and it was very, very potent. And I couldn't talk to you. I just had to go to bed. And I got a mini key lime pie that I'm going to have today with the other half of my burrito.
Oh, I didn't get one.
And by mini, it's like the size of my face.
Okay,
like,
all right. That's
a generous mini key lime pie.
Their portions are very generous.
Yeah.
The burrito that I have is staring at me right now. It's the size of my head. Like,
Yeah.
you know it's because you had the same burrito yesterday. So I'm just looking at it and thinking, like, we have a date later. This burrito.
Yes. Yeah. I also really like that they now have this, like, taco 6-pack that you can order.
Yeah.
And they deliver it in a pizza box, like a 10-inch pizza box.
Oh my God.
So you open it up and it's got 6 tacos, all of the sauces. It travels so well. Did you get any chips or any sides today?
I didn't, and I'm not sure why. To be honest, like, I ordered Flacco's Tacos after I had already gone to Andale Market in Andersonville, which is basically, like, someone on Facebook compared it to, it's like the Rose Apothecary from Schitt's Creek if it were a real place.
Where is it? Is it new?
It's new. They opened, like, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, like, right before the
They opened during this?
Yeah, they did.
Wow. Andale Market.
Andale Market, right. So they're in, if anyone listening to this is familiar with Chicago and familiar with Andersonville, it's in the little tiny storefront next to Brownstone Antique that used to be occupied by Tilly, which was, like, vintage ladies fashion. So it's super tiny. And it's this young couple. They actually live in Hyde Park, I think. But yeah, so basically they're, like, all the way on the opposite side of town. And they just stock, like, stuff that I don't want to say, like, I guess it's sort of upscale or sort of, like, basically fancy versions of stuff that you eat all the time. Like, for, like, they have, like, these really nice, like pancake, like, maple syrups, like one that has glitter in it for some reason, because why shouldn't you have glitter in your pancake syrup?
It is
really
1000% a Rose Apothecary.
Oh, for sure.
They call themselves, their website is a bodega with swag. A curated corner store for best of essentials, unique food finds, local and imported goods, fun gifts, and more.
I think they're doing really well. Like, the neighborhood really, really welcoming them. At least that's what it seems to be like online, because they're just like, listen, we're not trying to, like, be like a traditional bodega or a quarter store. Although they do have, like, Mexican Coke in glass bottles and, like, bottled water if you want. But it's like, this is, like, weird stuff, or just sort of, like, fancy, like, exotic stuff we've come across, and we happen to really like it a lot. And, we'll change stuff, like, when we feel like it, which is, like, maybe pretty often, like, maybe every couple of weeks they get new things. And Yeah, there's no, and it's, you just go in and you just chat them up and like look at this weird stuff. So today they had all this like fancy chocolate. And the reason why I didn't get it didn't occur to me to get dessert from Flaco's Tacos is because I had gotten this horchata and churro flavored chocolate bar.
Ooh.
It's so good. You know, it's like white chocolate, except that I hate white chocolate. When you bite into it, it tastes like horchata.
Mm.
And then there are like sort of candy, like, or like churro chunks like in it. So you just like basically start eating, and then you've eaten half the bar and you're like, I don't understand what just happened because I had a full bar 2 seconds ago.
Right. I mean, we'll have to see what
The
happens
weather
with this snow, but it is real.
Yes, very real.
Sticking, and the roads are already turning white, and it started to snow I don't know, like half an hour ago, maybe an hour ago was the first few flakes. I am excited to be home and ready to be cozy.
Yeah, you got your beef stew going.
I've got my beef stew going. I bought some oatmeal cream pie. Pies. I've got my key lime pie for later. I've got some hot chocolate. I don't know if I actually did great at buying cozy foods today. I did get more Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Good.
And there's a retro recipe Golden Grams on the market right now.
Really?
So I got a retro box of Golden Grams.
Like, does retro recipe mean that they're using like the original recipe when Golden Grams was first released to the market like however many years ago? Or is it just an old-fashioned looking box?
It said it was like the honey is back, or
interesting.
Yeah, it says honey is back. And I don't know that I ever ate Golden Grams as a kid. Like, that was not something we ate. Honey was removed from Golden Grams in 2012.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just totally undone by the marketing of it. There was a sale. There was a good sale on family size boxes. I didn't want 2 boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch because I already had a box of that and a box of Cap'n Crunch. Since I did my cereal episode with Shy, I have been cereal challah. But now I've got 2 boxes of cereal. I've got my beef stew. Oh, I bought challah rolls. I bought like challah that's in rolls.
Oh, that sounds great.
And then I'm really excited because I bought a gluten-free challah mix from this company called Orly's. So I haven't baked challah, in part because I make these huge loaves that with like nobody to give it to. Like I'm not even capable of eating 2 full challah loaves alone before they go bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in freezing one. And so since Ezra doesn't do gluten, I was like, ooh, I will try it. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll bake some challah this weekend too. What else have you got planned for your cozy blizzard survival?
I mean, I did actually mean to like clean up my refrigerator. I mean, it's not dire right now, but there are a few like salad. I don't know why I keep doing this. I think it's because I just can't see them, and I don't know how to. I need a better way of organizing my refrigerators. Like, you know, I get a salad in a bag and then I just forget that it exists. Yeah. And then I buy another one and I put the new one in the refrigerator. And then I happen to like sort of stoop down. And I'm like, oh, so there was another one in there that I don't remember buying, but I most likely bought 2 weeks ago. So, yeah. And I feel like I know that I think we've had this conversation before, or I've had this conversation at you before where I'm like, my new rule is that if I'm going to get the salad, I need to eat it like that day, as if it's going to expire, because otherwise, and of course I forgot that rule went out the window as well. So maybe I don't know. Vegetables and I have never quite found our groove in terms of like me knowing how to cook them well at home and like, you know, and composing salads for myself. So
I love a bag salad. There's no... But the trick, I think you're right. If there's a sale and it's like 3 bags for $8 and I get the 3 bags, chances are I will maybe I'll get through 2 before the third one turns into liquid.
Exactly.
Vegetables.
Yeah, right. And there's no point where I'm no, I've had this thought before and like, can I freeze one of those bags? Can I freeze a salad?
You cannot freeze a salad bag, Jasmine. I don't know a lot about cooking, but that I know is not something
you know that do. For sure. I think it's one of those things where I had to like say it out loud and hear me saying the words to know that was not feasible.
Yeah. Because have you ever...
And to hear someone else co-sign and be like, no, that is not going to happen, Jasmine. That's not something you can do.
Because you know how sometimes when you go to Subway and like, now I'll never get lettuce at Subway because shredded lettuce is just messy.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in something that like adds mess to my sandwich more than I'm going to get later in the choices. If you forget to not get lettuce and then they get that lettuce that's like by the edge of the pan and it's gotten some frost on it.
Yeah.
How gross that frozen lettuce is on the edge of the Subway pan. Cannot freeze a salad.
Yeah. Yeah. Not eating salads. I'm going to eat. So I only ate the tacos. I didn't eat the burrito. So I'm going to eat the burrito.
Nice.
I'm going to put on, I was going to watch the Horny on Main movie tonight because I'm showing it and I'm very excited. Even though I think I watched it last week after we didn't watch it with Dina because I like it so much. I mean, I think you might probably notice that like when I like a movie, I really like it.
What is the movie for tonight?
Yeah. So tonight's movie is Where the Boys Are.
Okay.
Which is made in 1964. I don't remember who wrote it or directed it. All I remember is that it stars, well, not really stars, but Connie Francis, the young girl singer, was one of the four leads, about four girls who leave their all women's college in snowy Iowa for 2 weeks in Fort Lauderdale. And sort of what they get up to when they decide, in terms of like looking for friend, looking for romance or adventure, or just music in Connie Francis's case. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It is. Nice. There's of course like trigger warning, a bit of a dark moment, because of course there is a message to it. But
right, yeah. For women going on spring break, there has to be a moral lesson learned.
Exactly. Yes, they have to be made to pay some kind of price, or having being so foolish as to have desires to like make out with boys and like drink beer and stuff, and all while in bathing suits, by the way. So
yeah,
pretty heavy.
Yeah, we're closing in on a year of COVID, a year of quarantine.
Oh my god!
Which means that Horny on Main, which is the movie series that you started,
right? In April. We started doing April last year. It's almost a year old.
Right. So the majority of my Saturday nights during COVID have been watching movies that you've curated with some of your college girlfriends and internet girlfriends. And it's been very fun to share movies with each other and just have a date, something to do. As I was asking on the internet for ideas of people to invite on, our friend Adrienne, who I interviewed about The Sims, she said, please have Jasmine on to talk about pet sitting. And then you yes-anded that and said you wanted to come on and talk about your love of other people's pets.
Yes.
So help me out.
Yeah.
What when you define other people's pets, what is in that universe?
I think it really falls. I mean, really, I love animals, like just sort of generally, like a lot of people do, and I love dogs and cats, of course, because that those are most like the animals that I see most. Not only in my general life, either people like walking their dogs in the street or cats like in windows, but also in the pets that belong to friends and that have belonged to friends over the years that I've looked after.
Yes.
So we're not talking like sort of strangers. Strangers' pets too. I think
you
of like the
strangers' pets on the internet.
Exactly. I think of like the community of animals I've sort of created over the years through my pet sitting.
Yeah,
starting in college, but in college, like the only pet sitting I did was for one specific couple that lived like maybe a half block away from my dorm, and then after that, it was just like years of like, after getting out of school and like having roommates, like, a couple of whom had pets, but like I never had like a sort of like a pet of my own, right? If I, like, for example, when I lived with my good friend Jacinda, like she had rescued a dog from the Midway, and so while we had this dog together, like there was never any question of where the dog was going to go when we had to eventually like move out on our own and like move into our own apartments. Like the dog was going with Jacinda and I was going to like, go somewhere else. So yeah, I don't think I've ever had a pet of my own. except for like maybe the occasional, like the one family dog we had when I was, or the two family dogs I had when I was very little. And
What
yeah,
were their
so
names?
that's it. I seem to remember that we had two dogs when we lived, like, you know, long story short, my dad was in the military, and so we lived at a couple of different places, like, you know, where he was stationed in California and then in Okinawa, Japan. And so we used to have a Doberman pinscher named Diana. Very
That's
beautiful, adorable. But she was sort of a troublemaker because, like, I don't know, I don't think, like, she was always running around the neighbors and to the neighbors' yards and stealing their laundry off the lines. And then we also had some sort of, and then we had some sort of a terrier mix. I'm beginning to think, I know I did not make this dog up, but like my memories of this dog are very few and far between. But this dog's name was Squiggy,
Awesome.
after one of the supporting characters from
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley. And I think like old TV shows and movies are great, you know, great sources for pet names.
Yeah.
Like I have a dog name I've been saving for years that I actually stole from my friend Kevin, but like I haven't yet like use the name for like my own pet because I haven't had one. But I'm like, as soon as I get my own dog, not a cat, but this is a name for a dog. My first my first ever dog's name is going to be Bobo, after the waiter and like the little old waiter in the Italian restaurant in Moonstruck, which is one of my favorite movies.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's a good dog name.
It is a very good dog name.
Good dog name, yeah. So to get back to like, you know, the people's pets, I think that, I didn't really start doing it for real until I think when we first were becoming friends, like over 10 years ago. And I think you needed someone to look after your cats. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I think it was like, I didn't like stay overnight. I think I just went up there a couple of times to like feed them and sort of observe them from like across the living room while they ate their food and drank their water.
Well, right. Because 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So Spidey, who I talk about every week, probably, Spidey's 19. So 10 years ago, he was 9, and he didn't need as much company as he needs today. He must have 2 meals a day now. He knocks over his water all the time. So there's a lot more like having to like refill the water. And so I think probably 5 years ago, right. So there was a time when like if it was a short business trip, if you just popped in and opened a couple cans every couple days, it would be fine.
Right.
And then as he got older and he needed more attention and got a little more precious about his food and my trips got longer, it just made sense to have you come and like stay at the house and hang out with them too. Yeah. And then word got out. Yeah. Word got out. And I think after, Spidey and Cowboy, I want to say that the next sort of set of pets or next animal or set of animals I started looking at was probably Adrian and Dan's cat. So then you started watching Zeke. I started looking after Zeke. And this was, I think, right around the time that like they were living. That I didn't have to do it very often because they didn't travel a ton, but not to give away too many details about like, you know, sort of like the personal lives and routines of the friends whose pets I look after. But, you know, there'd be like a couple of times a year and it'd be at least for like a week or two. And so Zeke and I, you know, we would just get comfortable. Right. Yeah. And which is really interesting because I think apart from your kids, I hadn't really spent a lot of time with cats like as an adult, you know, at least at that point, not for like a good, like maybe 5 or 6, like, you know, maybe even more like 7 or 8 years. Right. Because we need to talk because like, you know, the college couple, like the couple whose pets I looked after in college, they had like 5 cats and a dog and 3 birds. And that was an elaborate process. Ooh. It was a lot of work, but the opposite end of the spectrum was Zeke, who was maybe like one of the easiest cats I've ever had to look at, except that like he was so interesting to me. And I don't know why this actually bothered me so much. I felt like I never knew what he thought of me. And I felt like I needed to know that, not because I was so eager for him to like me, but more because I didn't want to make him feel weird or scared or uncomfortable in his own home. But then I realized he was just sort of like a little weirdo, like a little like a disgruntled old man. But he wasn't going to be always like up in my face and like wanting to sit in my lap and like purring all the time and doing stuff like that. I think it's hard when you have like a cat like Zeke compared to there's a Lola over your shoulder on the wall who right. Or sometimes your cats would be like grooming my hair, right? You know, or Oscar, or Dave and Jesse's dogs, Oscar, who is like basically like my
I'm like I feel like his widow sometimes, which is funny because like I loved Oscar, but I didn't look after him very much because it always seemed like, yeah, I think because like, with Dave and Jesse, this couple that we know that they're like, he was always working from home and like, Jesse traveled, like Dave was always there, not a bit, and like it wasn't a lot of time, but we had a very deep connection. But back to Zeke, like, but I knew it took Zeke a while, but then the most I ever got out of him is like, being like, he would yell at me if I wasn't sitting next to him, like when he wanted me to be sitting next to him, if we were going to settle down and watch Parks and Rec, right? Or watch like Lord of the Rings or whatever. And especially when it came to bedtime, well, actually, no, Spidey does this to me too. When I stay over at your place, they start yelling at me. It's like, it's a different sort of like, you need to feed us now. It's like, I can't believe you're still up. Right. You're still like sitting on the couch or like lying on the couch, like reading stuff on that little glowy triangle.
And you
like,
could take the glowy triangle to the bed.
Or glowy, like rectangle, excuse me. It's like, we were supposed to be in this bed 15 minutes ago. So I can sort of awkwardly either sit on the pillow next to your head and not touch you, or sort of touch your foot. And if you move the wrong way, then I run away and you won't see me again until 3:00 in the morning when like I'm sleeping right next to like your face. But I'm not, it's you're next to my face, but as soon as you turn to me, then I run away again, right?
That's
so
Cowboy,
Zeke was like, very much, so that's Cowboy. Zeke was the same way. And so that was also part of, the other interesting aspect of looking after other people's pets, like in their houses, is that you figure out what their routines are. Like, because the thing is like, that's a lot of like at least what I've learned about like what pets like or what they like, it doesn't always come from like the elaborate list of notes that people have left me, and I wish that I had saved some of them. Not to shame anybody.
Gosh, what if you
did somebody gave me 5 pages? I'm not going to say who it was, but somebody gave me like 5 handwritten, like double-spaced pages about like their 2 cats and like what their nicknames were, and like where their dishes should be, and like what and what time of day it should be. Well, obviously that time of day is important, but like also like if the moon is high and like, or if it's windy outside, then do this. And I was just like, I'm going to ignore all of this and focus on the part where like it's like what kind of food they get, how much they get, how much water, and like and like the number of the vet, because otherwise like it's cool that you're telling me this stuff, but at the same time I also don't care about it so much because I'm going to hang out with the cat and the cat will figure out to communicate it to me in some way, right? Maybe not the special nicknames for them, but I feel like, if the cat were like a person or could tell me this, maybe that cat wouldn't want me knowing that anyway.
Do you know what a really great I'm not going to program misspoken for you. What if you did an episode that was directions for my pet sitter?
Oh my God.
Like, could you imagine like Ines giving directions for her bulldog, or like Jessie giving directions for when she had the hamster, or
oh my God, yeah.
Like, I think that would be a really fun way to get people to do essays about their pets, but like, directions for my pet sitter, knowing that you are, and it could just be people who know their animals.
It could be an episode just called, or it could be a show called Care and Feeding, where you have to like talk about like a pet that you like, or like a child, or maybe an adult, like, a parent that you're looking after, or
that
like,
would be a very
or
fun
this
episode.
is for my very high maintenance boyfriend who's a total mama's boy, and I still cut up his steak for him just like his mom like used to do, or still does when we go,
That's nobody we
that
know,
would be
right?
hilarious.
That's hyperbole, right?
Oh, hyperbole. Oh yeah, I don't know anybody. Thank God I don't think I know anybody like that. I feel like I watch a lot. There are like a number of television shows and like on TLC that are devoted specifically to dating mama's boys or kids who are way too close to their, and it interferes with their romantic relationships, or yeah.
So you got Zeke, and you found a good rhythm with Zeke.
I did. Let's see, there is William and Harry, Dahlia's late
of
blessed cat.
memory.
A blessed memory. Those two.
The Jewish princes.
The princes. Oh my gosh. And this is like, and I felt like, how do I say this without making it sound weird? Like, I know, like, it's weird because I feel like I've known Dahlia for like a long time, but I don't like, and we're close, but I don't know her like super well. But I think there is such a level of comfort to like the way that she lives, which is weird because like, this is the other thing too. It's like with her and also with Adrian, who I feel like I haven't seen in person in a really long time. These are people where I've spent more time in their houses without them than I have with them,
with them, yeah.
which is fine.
And these are all people that in normal times you would see like at my Hanukkah party.
At your Hanukkah, at your birthday,
Yeah.
maybe on a fun girls' night out. Like we all
Right.
happen to go, like, you know, we decided to go to like, you know, a Barn River North, you know, something
Yeah.
like that. Like, so I'll see them maybe like every 2 months or every quarter,
Right.
right? Even like outside of like, you know, quarantine, like Adrienne and I were not really hanging out like a ton because like, you know, she's married and she's like starting a family and like, you know, people are busy and I get that.
Right.
But the weirdness of that, of like spending so much time in people's houses, but not seeing any time with that, like really didn't hit me, I think a few years ago. And I think it was like Dahlia, I don't remember, she had reached out to me or someone else was like, we should actually hang out like outside of the pet sitting whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, but then it never really happened and that's okay. But to get back to the whole comfort thing is that like, because I am so not like a good housekeeper, like I eat garbage and like I don't think of myself as like a fully functioning adult, and that sort of would go out the window when I would like, you know, look after Dahlia's cats because like, you know, she's like, you know, very, you know, has a very sort of keeps a very controlled diet, like, you know, her house is always, you know, always immaculate, and her cats were like, we love you. And this is and like we're just always all over me, like Harry especially.
They were like the dogs of cats.
They were, oh my God, they were incredible. Like together or like, you know, they were so close. And it wasn't like when I was with them that I felt like I was somehow like sort of like third wheeling. They were like, oh yay, we have another person to like use as a gigantic like, you know, heating pad. Mm-hmm. And they just follow me around. And it didn't even feel like clinginess. It was just like, we're just so happy that you're here. We're so interested in what it is that you're doing. Oh, you're going to like, you know, order yourself some Chinese food. That's great. We're going to sit around. Like it was just really super chill.
They were so social. They were, of course, their breed escapes me, but they were like Siamese. They were, they were tiny.
Burmese? They were Burmese. Maybe? Yeah.
So they had this, they could leap.
Yes.
Their ability to leap like to the top of the refrigerator.
Right. From the floor.
Effortless. Late into life.
Yes.
And they were, but when they were wanted to be small, they were like little, teeny tiny little boys.
Yeah. And they would just curl up into like this little ball that would sit like, you know, on your chest or right on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And like sort of basically sinking into Dahlia's like very comfortable couch. And I'd be like, okay, I don't need to be anywhere else for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, it's a bummer that Dahlia is not here, obviously, like, you know, but it's like, you know, it's just me and the cats and like it's snowing outside or it's raining, but we're inside or, you know, it was awesome. And so I miss those two very much because they were just so sweet.
They were such good boys.
Yeah, I think like, you know, when there have been cats and it's been almost all cats, like, you know, my pet sitting career, when they come in pairs, you know, like, you know, with Clinton and Jackie's cats,
right?
Who I never really stayed, you know, I never stayed over, and that was fine because that was sort of like, you know, something that they asked me not to do. But I would go over for like, you know, a few hours, like at a time, like, you know, I had no problem like spending maybe like an entire afternoon, like getting to their place maybe at like late morning and staying until dinner time,
right? And
just hanging out. But I also felt like that wasn't like sometimes it could backfire on me because I think towards like the last few times that I looked after two of them, one of them in particular would be like, you know, he and I, we were just not getting along and it was just not a great relationship. Like, and I never really figured out why. I mean, I guess I could like really, I mean, because I don't know why it still bothers me so much. I think because my interactions with everyone else's pets have been like, you know, largely positive. But like, you know, this one cat was just like, you know, I walked in and I was like, I don't know if I was just like, you know, in and out of sorts, but I was like doing something. I think I was like, you know, I brought food over because they lived like when they lived in Chicago, they lived near some really great places for takeout.
They had the best.
Yeah, so good. They lived like maybe all of like a block and a half from Arazu, which if you're in Chicago and you're not familiar with Arazu in Bucktown, it's incredible.
So good.
And I think I had gotten my standard, like, you know, I'd gone all out. I'd gotten like a banana oatmeal milkshake. I'd gotten a burrito. I gotten like an order of chifrijo, which is like my favorite thing, which is like a mixture of like rice and like fried pork skin and like beans. And and there's like, they put a huge avocado on top and you could almost pretend like it's healthy.
Yeah.
And I was doing something and Ramsey, you know, one of Clint Jackie's kids was like looking at me, doing anything. I was just like, you know, chilling and like sort of talking and pretending like I'm like, you know, that what we have like a non-weird relationship. And then Ramsey was looking at me and then he just peed on the bowl. And I'm like, that punishes the bowl.
Yeah.
But I felt that very keenly. And I was like, maybe Ramsey's just never going to like me.
Right.
And I'm just going to have to accept that, as hard as it is to admit. Like, I would feel more comfortable telling people that I had this like entire running dialogue and I do this all the time because everyone else does it. But to like admit that like it bothered me that this one cat just could not be somehow charmed by me, even though his sibling was like totally like me. I was just like, it clearly, you know, I think I've gotten over it, but it still sticks in the back of my mind because I'm just like, what did I do wrong? Like,
right.
Is it my
fault?
fault?
Why did this
like,
one cat?
Why did this one thing? And then I didn't think, you know, they're people like Clint Jack. We're like, oh no, they're just assholes. And I'm like, I know, but it wasn't always like this. So like, what did I do to make it wrong? Or to make it bad? So maybe those were cats that I still think of. And like, they're alive and well, but at the same time, just like, I feel like it's so weird. It's like, if I ever see them again, like the one's going to look at me and be like, oh yeah, that's that bitch. Like, you know, I peed in front of her.
Right.
She's afraid of me, or she's like, you know, insecure about me. And that's sort of where I want her to be.
So those are a lot of the cats. And then there's the dogs.
There are just a few dogs, not a ton of dogs.
Well, it seems like dogs you have more of a hangout relationship with than you don't do, because you are Meowie Poppins and
yeah, like those are
Puppins.
Mary Puppins. Yeah, and
Mary
it's funny because like
Puppins.
I don't think of myself as being either of those. Although I think I used to sort of joke when I started hashtagging my pictures. Is more like I would use one for cats, obviously, and one for dogs. But there are more cat, you know, instances. You know, but I think in terms of spending more time, like in terms of the amount of time, there have only been like less than a handful of dogs, like less than, I can't get, like, you know, there was Oscar and Maddie, Dave and Jesse's like late dogs. They were great. I think there was just a couple of times where I had to look after them. But honestly, that was like a very sort of easy thing to do because their dogs are so smart and so sweet. And like, you know, these are dogs that I really respected. They were great. And also it was very easy because like, you know, I'm not a morning person and I get up in the morning and be like, oh, I don't want to have to put on like shoes and take them around the block or walk them to the park and do this whole thing for like 45 minutes. I didn't have to do that because they lived in at least Jim and Jesse still do. They have a house with like a fence and yard. So all I had to do was basically go downstairs, you know, to the kitchen, open the back door, let them run around, you know, get myself something to drink. You know, and then join them in the yard for a little bit where I'd throw the ball around to see how high they could both jump.
Right.
Because of course, like, yeah, it's like we've been
they were Australian Shepherds.
Yeah, they're both healer. Yeah, Aussie Shepherds or healer mixes, both of them. And yeah, you know, it didn't matter if they'd only been up for like an hour or two. It's like, yeah, do you want to see us jump 9 feet in the air? We can do this right now. We can do it all day. And I'd be like, I can't, so we're not going to.
Yeah.
We will do it for 10 minutes and then we will come inside and eat.
Yep.
Because that's what I like to do when I'm in charge. I'd be like, all right, that's cool. So there's them. There is, of course, Lola.
Yeah.
The great spaniel love of my life.
Lola.
The wonderful Lola. Who I've spent so much time with in, I think 2 different departments. Our friend C, when she lived in Chicago, used to live up, like, you know, uptown, like in Ravenswood, near where we live now. But then she lived in the South Loop near the aforementioned Flacco's Tacos, in the Printers Row neighborhood of Chicago. And yeah, so because, you know, our friend, you know, she would have to like actually travel for work pretty frequently, and, you know, sometimes for like extended periods of time.
Yeah.
And so it would just be me and Lola, and she was happy to like not do anything.
Yeah. Lola was a cat in the way that Harry and
William were dogs. Oh, for sure. Yeah, she's definitely a cat. She was little. I mean, she was Cavalier King Charles, and they're little. They're I mean, spaniels are not super big anyway, and they're definitely like among the smallest, I want to say. And so Lola and she was really little. Like, I mean, because she's at least 10 now, if not
Yeah.
much older than that. And so, I'd take her out and people were always asking me like about, like, or saying that I had such a cute puppy. And I'd be like, I don't know why I didn't like let her sort of like conceal her age like a lady. I'd have to be like, no, she's 7. It's like she's gonna be 10 next year.
Grown-up.
she is a grown-up. She's not a
dog.
puppy.
She is not
And
a
I
puppy.
would do that, and she would just look at me like, "Bitch, can we tell them that I'm a puppy? Like, can you shut up for a minute?" And I'd be like, "No." It was just really, really great because like she was so completely neurotic, which is something that I can appreciate, and just a little bit anxious. But it wasn't like, sort of real. Like I think she, just had to always know what I was doing at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And was always wondering why we couldn't always be eating snacks all the time.
Right.
And I felt like I felt like a lot of our time was spent like eating a great deal of snacks and watching Bravo. So I don't know where the complaint came from. I think like, and this is like, a dog that I would actually sleep at her house. So like, it was very much like Laverne and Shirley.
Right.
Yes, we were very much roommates. Only she would get cross at me because like, like her friend would be like, she can't, like, you shouldn't let her sleep in the bed with you. And I wouldn't. So I'd put up this little baby gate, like, and she would just look at me
so
from
sad.
the baby gate. Like, and she would still be doing that when I fell asleep. And then and when I woke up in the morning, she would be there again. I'd be like, back. Oh my God, she'd be back at the baby gate with her little bulgy eyes being like, how could you do this to me?
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, you just left me here, like in this little area that has like all of my toys and my food and a water and a water and my massive bed and my other bed, and like some cushions and like, more snacks and like, other stuff. It's like, you are a monster. How dare you? And there were like a few times where I would like, be like, all right, fine, you're gonna sleep in the bathroom, but she'd sleep like right on my head. And I'm like, I feel like her butt is gonna end up on my mouth at some point in the middle of the night, and there's just nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
the life.
It's gonna be the life. It's not my house. It's her house. I'm just trying to be a good guest.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it really all sort of came down to, is trying to be as good a guest as you can. And sort of like basically just, I don't know. Like I feel like I don't think I become like a different person when I'd stay at like, all my different friends' houses, but I feel like what is like, it's sort of like, okay, so what am I it was all about sort of what would the animals be doing, if I weren't here?
Mm-hmm.
Would they be sleeping? Would they be snacking? Would they be, working on their novels? But then I would be there and they'd be
writing.
Yeah. And like, how do I make them not resent me for not being the human that they actually want to be here?
I mean, I sometimes think I get back and they're like, you're back. Why did Aunt Jasmine leave? Why are you the one that's here now? I do feel like I never got a cold shoulder. They always felt they were, sometimes, especially when Spidey was younger, and I would, and I'd be like, it's 2 or 3 nights, especially before I had Cowboy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spidey could be trusted with a big bowl of kibble.
Yeah.
To make it last a few days. Cowboy cannot be trusted, and Cowboy's a bully. And Spidey just hopped up on my desk to be like, hi, what's up?
Maybe if you made sort of like, if you tricked him, I don't know, because he's not the most, like, he's very good at sort of staying in one place, right? So it's not like you could do something like give him a fun obstacle course or build him a little like hedge maze that'll somehow he can somehow be tricked into. You can't wrangle him or sort of steer him into it.
Yeah.
Right? So unless you wanted to build like a trap door in the middle of your dining table,
right?
and put the carrier underneath it. No, and disguise it with an air conditioner filter, because like, there was that period where he really liked lying on that, and so so you just cut a hole in your floor, or no, cut a floor in your table, put the air conditioner filter on top of that, then position the carrier underneath, and so bada bing bada boom, you trapped your total unit of a cat.
Yeah,
and then you'll get him into the vet.
He is my linebacker.
Yeah,
he's so big. I just looked outside again. It's really snowing. Look at the road.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a higher traffic road than me, but like,
yeah, it is sticking because I could see it. Yeah, I can. Oh, I just realized I was speaking away from the mic. But yeah, it is really sticking on and it's been sticking on the sidewalk. Like there aren't really any. I mean, it's not late, but there are not a lot of there are not a lot of people out. Like there normally would be like more people. Like I live across from the grocery part of the Middle East Bakery for anyone listening in Andersonville. It's a great store. And I would normally, and I could see right into it. And I don't see a ton of people in there shopping right now. So, I mean, I'm assuming it's because people did it earlier because they were worried about the snow. So, but yet no one coming in, like, just a couple of people shopping for like the last bags of pita.
Yeah. Before
I
could
the
see
snow pot.
needing some pita for coziness.
Yeah, for sure.
I got just some like spinach dip.
Yeah, right. They have like so many different dips, and what I usually end up getting is like I just get tara masalata, which is like that Greek salmon like roe dip. Like I don't know what the components are exactly, but it's basically just salmon roe and like some other stuff like maybe yogurt, maybe mayonnaise, who knows. It's so salty. It's like eating a salt lick in Greece, or what I imagine would be like eating a salt lick in Greece.
Yeah. I'll take it. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
Which is, you seem to have really highly tuned your Instagram to be about animals.
Yes. Oh yeah, I guess I have. Yeah. My story for sure. Yeah.
Which are certainly other people's pets.
Yeah.
So who are some of your favorite internet animals or follows?
Good question. Well, let's see. On land, it's going to be almost all dogs, or dog rescues. A lot of, I cut down the follows a bit because I used to, like, I went through a phase where I was like following every pit bull rescue that I could find. And then after a certain point, it just got exhausting. So I think I got rid of them all except for like the local ones, like the local breed specific, like, pit bull rescues, like in Chicago or just like in the state in Northern Illinois. And just limited myself to like the dodo, or dog rates.
Yeah.
Sort of like really large popular accounts that usually pull from, which is how I found a lot of like, those individual accounts in the first place. I love all of the dogs of the Doggist, which is the dog photography account.
Okay.
Because all of the sort of like the principles, like sort of like that you see sort of featured on the Doggist, like they all have dogs themselves. So I follow all of their dogs. But of those dogs, I think I'm with like, basically everyone else that I say this, that my favorite dog is Simon. His Instagram handle is Simon Sits. He is like a 2-year-old, like Jindo mix, I think. He was adopted by a woman who works at the Doggist. Like they live in Brooklyn. And they, sort of came together, I think, when the Doggist did like a promotion, sort of did like a collaboration. And so for this specific rescue called Korean Canine Rescue, and what they do is they rescue mostly mixed breed dogs from Korea, from like, high kill shelters, sometimes from from the dog food industry there. Cause I guess according to them, like, pure breeds are really popular. Really small pure breeds in Korea are really popular, and folks aren't as keen about larger dogs, but like dogs that are mixed. So they have a lot of mixed breed dogs that need, that wouldn't even really be able to get fostered or adopted there. So what they do is they pay for people who are like leaving Korea anyway, like people who are visiting, and are like, if we like, we'll pay for the dog to fly back with you to New York. And then like we get fosters and we get them adopted out in New York too. So that's how Simon came to be in New York. And so he's great. And all of Simon's siblings, because they were all part, and Simon's mom were all brought over and, by the same rescue. They're all adopted. They all look a little bit like each other, like, cause like with the back, with the makeup, like can go like either way. So I believe I still also follow Simon's siblings on Instagram as well.
Simon Sits is adorable.
He is so adorable. He is ridiculously adorable. Like, it's funny because like he's small, but he's very long. Like he's not a short back, but if you go on the Instagram account and go back to the stories, like if you find the story called Baby Simon when he was a baby and he was maybe about the length of like maybe a small loaf of bread, and it had like a gigantic head. The cutest.
Yeah.
So adorable.
Oh, there's baby Simon.
Yeah. I don't follow a ton of cats, I have to say. I used to follow, and I might start following Beth Stern, who, is known to a lot of folks as the wife of Howard Stern, but she's also really passionate about cat rescue and an animal advocate. And so she runs sort of basically does a lot of fostering and adopting cats out, but mostly in New York, where she actually lives. Yeah, lots of cats there. And there's one cat that I do follow named Shadow, who was like a former foster of hers. And this cat was like such a tragic backstory. Maybe that's what attracted me to him, because like this is an adult cat, lived alone, saw his previous owner get murdered.
Oh,
yeah. And so the cat was rescued. I think how it went is like, when when the police came to investigate the crime, they found the cat and were like, we can't, we need to find someone to take this cat. So I think she volunteered to not foster I think she fostered the cat herself and then found someone else to foster. And that person, I think, ended up adopting the cat. So that cat is now on Instagram. And that whole journey of like, having this cat come into a new home and like basically like shy away from the new owner and then like sort of grow and get closer. Now they seem like pretty well adjusted. Was such a journey that took such a long time. And it had me in tears. And now this cat is like, pretty happy and like well adjusted. And I totally recommend the follow, even though, he's not like a super cute kitten.
Yeah.
He's just really interesting.
What's his, he's Shadow?
It's Shadow_2, the word 2, TO_light, LIGHT, I think. It could be it.
Shadow, aka Floof.
Yeah.
Shadow to former Beth O'Stern rescue. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aw, he's precious. I will share his links as well.
And I think probably the last dog. There's so many dogs. The last Instagram dog I want to mention is Millie the Wonder Dog.
Okay.
Millie lives in England with her person. Or her person, I think, is British American. Like she grew up in Indiana, but she is in England now. So Millie was rescued from Russia, where she'd been found by some folks who were in Russia, worked in a rescue. She'd been shot a bunch of times. One of her ears was cut off. And I think she still had her eyes, but they had been damaged because she'd been shot in the face a bunch of times. So this dog was rescued, and now lives in England. And her name is Maggie. Let's see, what else?
Maggie the Wonder Dog?
Maggie the Wonder Dog.
Okay. That makes more sense, because Millie the Wonder Dog.
Oh, sorry, Millie was who doesn't have, like, I think her nose was cut off, or like, but they're owned by the same person who clearly has a gift with like, dogs that have like special needs. But they have separate accounts, but I think more people know about Maggie, because Maggie, I think her human wrote a book about her story. And so I think they live in the south of England. They're fostering like a bunch of kittens right now.
Yeah.
They have another dog sibling named Mishka, who is, I think, a husky mix. And they basically, I think they spend all of their time just hanging out, going for walks in gigantic fields. I think Maggie is trained to be sort of like not like a therapy dog, but like, she'll go to like hospitals and old folks homes and like schools and college campuses, and just basically just, be charming and like hug everybody she can get her paws on. And that's basically it. And she's incredible. So
I am Facebook friends through the How Did This Get Made community. I know Hattie the pirate dog. Hattie was a bait dog for dog fighting.
Oh, man.
And I know her human, Erin, through the How Did This Get Made world. Mm-hmm. And her dog had died. And then she was like, I'm going to take some time. I don't need a new dog right away. And then she saw Hattie on a rescue Instagram, and she was like, that is my dog. And so she was approved, and she took Hattie home as her, she had to have her face reconstructed, and she's only got one eye.
Yeah. That sounds so much to me like a dog in Southern California named Popeye the Foodie Dog.
Uh-huh.
So like Popeye is a rescue. Like you need to look him up, because he looks like, I don't know. I don't know. I remember what his mix is, but he's so cute. Like he has this massive head and these gigantic ears, and one of the ears is always flopping over. And so I think when his person like rescued him, like she was sort of like a sort of like a beginning like food blogger trying to sort of like do more unsocial about like sort of not so much what she was cooking, but where she would go out to eat. And like she got this dog and was like, oh, I should we're eating outside a lot anyway, so it's not hard for us to find dog friendly places.
Right.
And so she noticed that like her dog would like he was very good about sitting, like very like good about listening to her and being like, yeah, just sit there and like I'll photograph you with like this plate of food and be like, all right, because he's cute and like he'll listen. And then she realized that like he he just sort of like really came alive when she would take these pictures of him. And so now her food account is really just pictures of her dog with the food that she's about to eat.
He is very precious.
He's adorable. Like he looks like he looks like if a small child had like dreamt up like basically their dream puppy that also happened to be like a marshmallow and like a cloud at the same time. Like this is the animal that they would come up with. But there's a cat actually, another not a foodie cat, but I think a cat that you would enjoy, named Bruce Willis. He lives in Minnesota, and I think he was like internet famous, because I think he was featured on the Dodo because his name was Bruce Willis. But he had been listed by his shelter. I want to say I think like they live in Minneapolis by his shelter as being like the saddest cat.
Yeah.
Which I feel like when shelters do that, like I know it's like they're trying to get the animals adopted, but I feel like if I were the animal, I'd be like, okay, come on, give it a rest. All right. I'm a little embarrassed here. But like this cat was like a former like feral cat and like a former tomcat. And like, it had these sort of like injuries. Like he was totally healthy, but he had like, some injuries he sustained. And this woman was like, just found him one day. I was like, all right, that's my cat. Saddest cat in the shelter. Let's go.
You're going to have to give me more information about it turns out a lot of cats named Bruce Willis on Instagram.
Yeah. I think it's a popular.
Is it the cat? No.
It's Mr. Willis the cat, I believe is the Instagram handle. Mr. Willis the cat. Yeah. He's a little ginger. I think, he's a ginger cat. Yes. He looks very good in bow ties. And he likes to spend time like where he lives, there's like sort of like a big sliding door. And so he'll like sort of look at that and like look for chipmunks and like other animals as they come by and like.
He does kind of have like a permanently sad, like the way his forehead is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He does. He just has like a sad look.
He does.
Even when he's obviously clearly like very happy.
Yeah. Like when he gets to eat like yogurt. Mm-hmm. Or like, yeah, like there are like a couple of videos of him basically like you could see like his person like lowering like a spoon covered in yogurt and he's just like, it's all of mine now.
So precious.
Give it to me. So that's a good cat. That is a good cat to follow.
That's a good cat follow.
It's a good cat follow, yeah.
Who are the celebrities that you think of when you think about like awesome dogs or like they are great pet owners?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I was actually thinking of this is gonna sound such a, and I was thinking of Kyle Richards from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Okay,
and that's only because she's one of the few housewives that I actually follow. Like a few months ago, I think when I was like when I was still like not working before, when I was still unemployed, I decided that I was going to spend a lot of time on Hulu and finally really get down into and sort of like watching all of the Housewives franchises. And that lasted for about 2 weeks, but I managed to get through like 4 seasons of like 5 different Housewives franchises because I mean, each episode is like an hour, but at the same, I think there's sort of like, you just sort of know, like it was easy to have it on in the background. I think I treated it the same way that people like, treat like The Office or really anything. Right. But it wasn't difficult to pick up a lot. It was just like, and like, a lot of the stories are the same, a lot of hair pull, a lot of cursing, a lot of hair pulling. Occasionally there would be a trip. Right.
Right.
And then you sort of develop like affection for certain housewives. Like, I'm not so deeply into it where like, I would, I spend a lot of time online, like talking about, like, if I do talk about like, what kind of media I consume, like it's not necessarily about the housewives. I'm going to talk about like 90 Day Fiance right now. Right. Cause that's just a lot of, that's just my thing, I guess. But, I do follow Kyle Richards who has like, she has like 5 or 6 dogs.
Wow.
And she doesn't even post about them a lot, but I'm like, I just feel like if you have like a ton of dogs and you look super happy, then I have to fuck with you, man. Like I have to like you on GP because like you have a ton of dogs, you have a lot of animals and they're not all like tiny. She's got like big dogs and little dogs. I'm like, I am super into that. Yes, let's do it. And then also,
who is from Marvel that takes their dog as their date to launches, to movie premieres?
I don't know who's done that. I believe that Tom Hardy, who is an English actor who is in the Marvel universe as Venom. Like I think for years is sort of like he loves dogs. I don't know if he's like a dog like advocate, like activist, like if he does a lot of rescues. But I believe that I've seen like pictures like of him.
Oh yeah, if you search Tom Hardy red carpet dog, there are plenty of photographs of that. Yeah.
Because he's like, oh yeah, because I think he's said many times like, oh yeah, dogs are great, people are terrible. I would rather like spend all of my time with a dog that like I've never met before than people that I knew I didn't particularly like. Or if that he hasn't said that, I'm sure he'll say it soon. Not to put words in his mouth, but yeah, I think that just makes me super happy.
Well, Jasmine, is there anything you'd like to promote?
But we will be back in February, last Wednesday of February. I don't remember the exact date, but I think that because we missed January without meaning to, we will be doing a February, like a double show. So it'll be like maybe an hour and a half instead of 45 minutes, which is about the length of like a regular show before times. I think the theme I'd originally chosen for January was Ladies First, seemed appropriate because it was the first month of the year, the first, like, the new administration, new people in the White House, our first female vice president, but also considering all the craziness that happened this month, maybe... Right. February's theme will be a little like the February's theme may as well just be what the fuck just happened.
Right. It could also be Karen feeding. Letters to my
Karen feeding. No, I think I like that too. Because I just think of like, God, I do wish I had kept like the instructions that people have given me in the past and been like, you're looking after my cats for 3 nights. These are 6 pages of instructions.
Yeah, mostly I'm like, here are the things that are weird about the current apartment I'm living in. I feel like more of my instructions have been, here's how to deal with the weirdness of this place I live.
Or more like, this is what the cats are doing now, and maybe you want to put like this dish of food for Spidey like up on a counter where like Cowboy can get to it, and that, but everything else is the same. Yeah.
Right.
Or like, or one of them
him on top of the fridge.
Yeah. Or I know Cowboy still does this, but like if you don't see him for a little while, it's because he's like hiding at the back of the closet in the guest or in the back of my closet, or he's like, like sort of taken to sleeping in like, half of a cardboard box that's under the bed in the guest room. I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. So I just do like a basic proof of life with him where I just sort of find him like, make sure he's sort of moving, and if I can like stick a finger under his nose and make sure that he's still breathing, and then otherwise it's like, all right, cool, you're on your own. I will see you when you want to see me. So
And where can people follow you online?
They can follow me online. I guess I'm most active on Instagram lately, where I post a lot of stuff to my story, but not necessarily personal content for me. I do have a Twitter account, and occasionally I am trying to tweet more stuff about stuff that I watch, like the aforementioned 90 Day Fiancé. Yeah. Just because I have found that like I do enjoy tweeting, live tweeting, my watching of the current season of 90 Day Fiancé or one of its myriad spin-offs on TLC. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, those are, I guess if people want to bug me or like, or share other dog and cat, cats of the internet, like those would be the best 2 places to do it. Or
what is your username on those places?
Oh, right. Oh, I guess that's what you were getting at. No, this will be important for whoever like is the person in Tom Hiddleston's life who books like his pet sitters if he needs one. So it's Jasmine D. That's JASMIND, as though you've been Jasmined.
Yes.
Whatever that means. So again, any celebrities who need someone to look after their pets, hit me up. I've been told I have a rapport. Just saying.
Fantastic. Well, it's been good to spend the beginning of this blizzard with you.
Yes.
I'm hopeful to see what we get over the next couple days for snow. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you so much for having me back. This was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to Finding Favorites with Leah Jones. Please make sure to subscribe and drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. Now, go out and enjoy your favorite things.